Hello and welcome to 4 Quick Cues Book Talk with Enfys. This is the live interview chat show where I ask pagan authors 4 quick questions determined by a roll of the dice. If you've got any questions for today's guest, please pop them in the comments and we'll circle around to them at the end. I am your host, Enfys Book of MajorRQueerna.com. Joining me today is Theresa Reed, pronouns she and her, aka the tarot lady. I almost said that tarot lady. That might be a little different tone there. She worked as full-time tarot reader for 30 years. She's the author of Twist Your Fate, Manifest Success with Astrology and Tarot, which I just finished reading, and it is spectacular. Also the author of Tarot, No Questions Asked, Mastering the Art of Intuitive Reading, and the Tarot Coloring Book, an illustrated tour through the world of tarot with coloring sheets for every card in the deck, which I also love. Theresa is also the author of Astrology For Real Life, a No B.S. guide for the Astro-Curious, and co-author of Tarot for Troubled Times with Shaheen Miro, Create Your Own Tarot Cards with Adrianne Hawthorne, and Tarot for Kids, a kid-friendly tarot deck with artist Kailey Whitman. In addition to writing, teaching, podcasting, and speaking at tarot conferences, Theresa also runs a popular website, thetarotlady.com, where she dishes out advice, inspiration, and tips for tarot lovers of all experience levels. She also hosts 2 educational podcasts, Tarot Bites and Astrology Bites, which have been downloaded by millions of people all around the world. Theresa, welcome. Thank you for being on 4 Quick Cues.
Thank you so much for having me, Enfys. I was looking forward to this all day.
Me too. I am super stoked to have you here. As we were talking before the program, I have been a big fan since the Tarot Coloring Book and really enjoy. I meant to hold this up when I mentioned it. Astrology for Real Life is the best astrology book I have ever read and the one I keep going back to. And having just finished reading Twist Your Fate, that's another one I'm going to come back to a lot. And I'm probably going to give it to some people for the holidays. Yep, there's that beautiful cover. So thank you for writing such amazing books and for being on the show. I'm super stoked.
Well, thank you. And I love to write. So writing is my jam. And I cannot believe how many books I've written over the years. And I've only been writing for about 7 years. So,
Wow.
I mean, that's like almost a book a year.
That's prolific. Yeah, that's impressive. Awesome. So have you ever been interviewed by a dice before?
I have never been interviewed by a dice, ever. So this is all new to me.
Okay, wonderful. Well, one of our little traditions on the show is that our guest gets to name the dice for the purposes of the evening. What would you like to name our dice today?
We're going to name the dice Andrew.
Andrew. Awesome. I love it. Hello, Andrew. Guide us through this interview. So the rule is I'm going to roll this 4 times. Each time I roll it, I will ask a question that corresponds to a list. And let's get started. So let's see what does Andrew have on tap for the first question? Number 12. Where do you like to write?
Oh, well, I have a writing nook. And it has to be in my writing nook. And see, I live in a really old house. The house was built like the 1920s. And
Nice.
It was divided into 4 apartments. One of them was illegal. So when we took over the building, we combined the illegal one with this other one. We tore a hole in the wall. We built a staircase. And that became my office. And in the office, there's also the writing nook. So there's a place where I do readings. And the writing nook is actually it's a converted kitchen. And it was a very tiny kitchen. And so we ripped out the stove, got rid of it, got rid of the fridge. The sink is still here, unfortunately, but I use the sink. And then I got bookcases and I got my computer and I got lots and lots of research material around me. So this is my one space. It's very quiet. I can think. It's also a space where I can lock myself away from the cat, who tends to be a kind of a jerk, and my husband. And it's my space and I can really think here. I can think because it's quiet. So that's where I do all my writing. And that's where I do a lot of things. I spend a lot of time in this little writing nook. You know, what's really funny is I read Stephen King's book on writing. And he talked about when he became famous, he got this fancy office and this giant desk. And after a while, he realized that it wasn't working for him. And he had to go back kind of to the same kind of setup I have, this little cramped nook. And so I like to think, not that I'm like Stephen King, but I think about that every so often, like, I'll probably stick with this little nook. It really works.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where best to write in my new place that I have, because I have this great desk, which I'm sitting at right now. And it's the desk I spend all day at my day job. So when I want to write after work, sometimes it's like, I don't want to keep sitting in the same place, but we have a really nice little reading nook up in the front of the house surrounded by windows and cats. And yeah, that's real good. But it's really nice to be able to kick the cats out of my office as well, because earlier episodes of this show, sometimes there was a guest appearance by Atticus's tail or the green screen wobbling because he wanted attention right about then. So it's nice to have a little bit more quiet and serenity. Totally get that.
Mm-hmm. And you don't get that with cats very often.
No, not at all, especially now that I have a kitten.
Oh, I love kittens.
Oh, she's adorable. Her name is Dr. Coda Elizabeth, and she is just a ball of serotonin, like just unbelievably cute and cuddly, and we're very, very lucky. So, all right, Andrew, what is our second question? Oh, one. This is our critical fail question for those who play D&D. Tell us about a magical mistake you've made and what you learned from it.
A magical mistake that I made. Are we talking about like I did magic and something happened that I wasn't expecting, or I made a life decision that really turned out to be a good thing even though it was a mistake? Now I need
Either
to
way.
look at me. I'm like trying to like overanalyze it and I'm overthinking it. Let's see, a magical mistake. That's a darn good question. I mean, I almost have to really put that through my head ringer. If I think about my life, I've done a lot of things that have kind of happened by accident, just through making these decisions and thinking, oh, what the hell, I'm just going to do it. And it's worked out for me. So I might want to look at it like that. Gosh, that is such a good question. That's a really hard one. What is a magical mistake I made? I mean, I can look at my this is a hard one. Oh my God, Enfys, I don't know how to answer this question.
It's okay to take the Bob Ross route and say there's no mistakes, only happy accidents. That's totally legit.
Okay, well, we're going to go with that because I will say that I've made a lot of poor decisions that actually turned out to be a good thing. So if we could look at it like that, happy accident, however you want to call it, that would probably be it. And probably one of the happiest mistakes I made was, getting a divorce, which was probably something people don't think of as magical. It was very, very hard. It was something that wasn't fun. I don't recommend it. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm probably making a huge mistake, but everything in my life then worked out really well. So maybe that. I mean, no offense against the ex, but the divorce was actually something that was very good for me. Although at the time I thought I was really doing something that wasn't very good.
Oh yeah, been through the exact same thing and know what you mean. All right, let's go for question 3, lucky number 7. What is something you wish other magical or pagan authors would do less?
Ooh.
This is as spicy as the questions get.
Why am I getting the hard questions? Why did I get an easy one here?
Hey, it's Andrew's fault. It's not mine.
I should have known not to name it after my friend Andrew. Andrew, I'm gonna get even later. What is something I wish they would do less? Fight. I got to tell you something. One thing that really makes my heart hurt is when I see like fellow tarot authors or pagan authors get into these online wars together and fight with each other, and it's like or diss somebody else because they don't like the way they did their work. Not that I want to say we should all get along, but maybe kind of. It's like, look, you don't have to like someone's work, you don't have to like their writing, you don't have to like their beliefs, you don't have to agree with it. Let's just live and let live. And I'm a really big believer in that. I'm all about minding my own business. I don't get in the middle of anybody else's drama. So I would say the one thing, I guess, that I'd like to see people do less is fight. We can all have our own beliefs. It's all good. It's all good. We don't have to get on each other's case. And if you don't like somebody, don't read their book. Don't bother them. Don't go on their social media. Go do your thing.
Exactly. Everyone has a different perspective.
Yeah, we can get very hung up on our perspectives. And maybe, I mean, there's people who I look at their stuff, well, yeah, that's not really my thing. And then I leave it alone. How hard is that? Leave it alone. Let's just all do our thing. It's all good.
Right on. All right, last question. Andrew says number 6. If you had a megaphone to broadcast a 1-sentence message about either tarot or astrology to the whole world, what would it be?
It works.
That's a
Because
short
it
sentence.
does.
I like
It's a
it.
very short sentence because, you know, there's so much misconceptions. People call them pseudosciences or they think it's malarkey, that the stuff doesn't work, but it actually does. If you apply astrology and tarot, it can really help you. It can help you a lot. Tarot can be an amazing tool for reflection. Tarot can show you the energy around a situation so you can make better decisions. And astrology is like a map. I mean, when you look at your natal chart, it gives you a lot of information about yourself. And then if you look at the transits, and this is how I always describe it, your astrology chart, your natal chart is like a map, and the transits are the traffic. So now
Mhm.
you know how to operate, how to drive, so to speak, and where you're going. And then tarot can help you to find the detours if you don't like the traffic that you're in. All works,
Yeah.
and it does work if you
Yeah.
apply it.
And one thing I really liked about Twist Your Fate is sort of the interaction with the title about fate, you know, and how you're like, is it fate or is it more just like these are where the winds are blowing and you can try to go with them or push against them? You really have a lot of choice. And that's always the way I've approached tarot readings, is like, this gives you ideas of what to expect depending on what you
Yep.
do. It doesn't say what's going to happen. Like, this is just kind of, you have options. It's never like your destiny is this, you know.
We can always make different decisions, but you know, tarot is remarkably accurate. And I always love sharing this one story.
Mhm.
Many, many years ago, I was dating somebody, and this person was not being honest with me. They were seeing somebody else being really shady about, it, and I'm very direct. I'm like, "Are you seeing this person?" "Oh, no, no, no." I'm like, yeah, you are." So anyhow, of course, I went and got a tarot reading. And the tarot reader, I don't remember much about the reading except the final card. It was the Three of Wands, and she says, "You're going to be together. It's all going to work out for you. And she's going to be on the outside looking in." I said, "Oh, okay." I went home and I dumped him immediately. I did the exact opposite what that reading did. And what's really funny is we ended up then, after a couple of years, we became friends. And he actually had children, had a serious relationship, married, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, great, it all worked out. Well, it didn't work out. They ended up splitting up. And I went out and I was hanging out with him one time because we're still good friends to this day, better friends and partners. And we went to a pizza restaurant and we were there having pizza. And all of a sudden, here she comes walking past the restaurant and she's standing there looking in. It was the Three of Wands 20 years later. So, I mean,
Wow.
it was really weird, but this just shows you I made a different decision,
Mhm.
even though the cards actually ended up working out
Mhm.
exactly the way she said. It wasn't quite what we thought it was because I made a different decision. And that's the thing about fate. And that's the thing about tarot and astrology. Sometimes we have an idea of what we think it means. And then later on, it's like, oh, that's what it meant. And this is how it guided me. And it's all ultimately comes down to how you work with the energy.
Yep, absolutely. Well, again, I highly recommend all your books, really. I've particularly enjoyed the astrology ones because that is one of my weak spots. So with that in mind, I'm going to go check if any of our folks have any questions in the comments. While I do that, if you'd like to talk about whatever you are most excited about right now, the floor is yours.
Oh my God, thank you. Well, I'm very excited about my new book. Let me just show you all the cover again. This has only been out for a couple of weeks now, and it is really my tarot and astrology mashup because I'm fluent in both. And anytime when I would do readings for people, I always brought both of them into the reading. And my goal is to help make these things a little more accessible for people. If you're a tarot reader, great. Now you can learn some things about astrology and vice versa. If you're new to either one of them, I still write about these topics in this book in a way that's going to help you to understand it. I do a lot of teaching. All my teaching happens over on Patreon. And Patreon, I've got an account there. It's patreon.com/ the tarot lady. And I'm letting everyone know I'm only going to be teaching for 8 more years. Then I'm retiring. So if you want to learn with me directly, this is your time because my time is running out. I mean, I am almost 60 years old. I've been at this game a long time. So now it's time to start planning for the next phase of my life. And I'm very, very actively working on that. And also, if you want to stay in contact with me, you can find me at thetarotlady.com. That's my main hub. I'm all over social media. I'm always the Tarot Lady, except on TikTok. I'm the official Tarot Lady because somebody else grabbed the Tarot Lady. Mm. I don't do much on TikTok anyway, so who cares? But you can always you can always find me like on Instagram. I do a morning forecast, so you can find me all over. And Twitter's my favorite, my absolute favorite. I love Twitter. So
I have
that's
a
me.
soft spot for it too. Yeah, I've been on Twitter since 2008, I think 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's facilitated some of the most amazing things that have happened in my life, like getting to have whiskey for hours with one of my favorite authors, things like that. It's just,
Yes.
it's fantastic. And
You meet
also
the
it can be
best people.
horrible. Yeah, you do meet the best people and the worst ones.
Yeah, you gotta kind of like, I think with anything when it comes to like social media, you have to kind of filter out what you're taking in. And I think anybody, especially if you're Gemini and you got a Gemini rising, we already talked about that, folks. Geminis are, when you got that Gemini energy, you're like absorbing all that information, you're taking it in. You got to be careful what you take in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are no questions from the audience, but I did drop all your links into chat. So those ones she mentioned, the tarotlady.com, your Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, those are all in the chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, those will be in the description for you to check out. So thank you so much for joining me today. This has been delightful. I want to talk a little bit about our upcoming guests on the show. October 19th, Mortellus is going to be here, and we're going to be starting the show a little bit earlier. It's going to start at 7 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Pacific. Usually we start at 8 p.m. Eastern, so it'll be a little bit earlier next time. And then November 2nd, we have Ariana Serpentine, who wrote a book called Sacred Gender that is just coming out in November, which I'm really excited about. So Theresa, thank you so much. This has been a delight and something I have looked forward to for a long time. And I look forward to all your future books and those last 8 years of you working on this. I'll have to get in on one of those classes.
Yes, I've got 8 more years to write books and teach, and then retirement. Enfys, I want to thank you so much for making time to talk with me today. It was great working with Andrew also, although those
Oh,
trick
yes.
questions, Andrew, you goofed me up, Andrew. But thank
He
you.
was mean.
It was mean, but this was great fun. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. And everyone, go check out Twist Your Fate. It is fantastic. It just came out this month. And especially if you're an entrepreneur, but really whatever career you're in, it has great stuff you can use. But especially if you are an entrepreneur, it has some really valuable advice. And like I said, I'm going to be buying it as gifts for a lot of people. That's how much I enjoyed it. So check it out. And everyone who's watching, have a great rest of your day.